Welcome back to today's coverage. The Apex Karting Championships at Southeast Division continues on its inaugural round here from NOLA Motorsports Park. Justin Prince alongside Taylor Burris with you today here on Kart Chaser as the KA Masters are ready for their first heat in this series' history. Just about ready for the drivers to be able to roll on through here today as these competitors are all lined up for the start already, set to go flying. It's Shane Burkett alongside him in the field today. Thomas Sherrick. You also have Brent Estes and Curtis Terry, a part of this field. We're underway for KA Masters. And a clean start for Burkett and company as they make their way single file down the long back straightaway. Sherrick trying to keep himself in tow and stay lined up behind. They work their way to the technical section through Sector 3.
7 minutes here for this heat race, so drivers just need to settle in on this opening lap, try to find their right dancing partner and see what they can do. But for Shane Burkett, the hometown hero here in the KA Masters, looking to try to flex his muscles to take charge here on the opening lap as Shrek and Estes are now working together here as they try to come out of the final corner. First lap on the board, and we'll give a good round of applause for Curtis Terry to stay right there as well, making his debut here at NOLA.
See just how much the experience is really coming to play for Burkett to already build up the buffer by half a second and growing here. Local talent being able to grow this gap here. The interesting thing when it comes to your second place driver here amongst this is you're talking about a driver who wasn't in karting just a couple years ago. And one of the experiences basically walked to the track, got an opportunity after talking with his team owner and Bobby Krug, and now has opportunities at the national level like here today. Great chance to be able to branch out for the 499. Early holds on second with Estes keeping on behind. Brent last time was a little bit quicker than that 499. Might have a chance to take second here.
Yeah, absolutely, and back on with Bobby Krug right now as we watch the pass for position. Estes will get around Shrek for position, but Shrek's going to get back on it, goes up on the curbing to gather it back up, nearly makes contact, but great heads-up driving from both competitors. But this will now allow Shane Burkett to stretch out that race lead by a significant margin with these two battling it out right now. But back to Bobby Krug, that group right there has done an amazing job, mostly racing in the Ignite series as well as also Margate, Gateway, a really great organization, starting to branch out more into other categories on the national level. I got to say, keep an eye on them when it comes to racing here in the Apex South and North divisions in 2026.
Yeah, especially with this and then the opportunity to branch to a big-time national level. For somebody who's had experience working with Skip Barber in the past as well. But he's building up the buffer. The 435 last time through had ran in the 45.6s, 46.5 should say, for a majority of the field. But it was a 46.2 for Estes to build that buffer he's got in this time through. That slap 45.7s with the tire temperatures picking up here. And that's the interesting part of this here when it comes to Estes. Someone that has that experience over the years, racing with his father at tracks like Atlanta Motorsports Park over the years. And also, over his experience the past couple years, back in 2024, having a top 10 runner in CKNA Grants competition over in Newcastle. So he's got a fair amount of pace underneath him in that 435 kart, as he's comfortably holding on to second here by a couple kart lengths. Kart length still continuing to be maintained here past the halfway point.
Yeah, Sherrick right now staying tucked up behind him, not really wanting to push the envelope. I think right now as he sets fastest lap of the race, Sherrick is going to try to work with Estes to see if they can catch up. Look, you see right here, Estes going to let Sherrick by here and see if those two can work together to try and chase down your race leader of Shane Burkett. I think that's what Estes thought about, saw the pace that he had, maybe take a tow from him and try and hunt down Burkett with now just about 2 minutes and 40 seconds left to go.
Tough thing's going to be able to close up the 1 second gap here. Right now, Burkett has looked to be difficult to stop when it comes to his raw speed in that 442. This time through, even with the swap, by the way, Sherrick just a couple 100 slower, about 19 1,000 slower in total to the race leader. Two testers on to see if there's any chance to get in the drafted distance. These carts, mind you, and the K8 chassis in particular, do have a fair bit of draft effect on them, but you have to be at a certain range tailor to get that certain pull in the first place. And right now, Sherrick just outside of that respective range right now to be able to have a chance to be able to trim away the gap in a rapid fashion here and have a chance at it.
Yeah, unlike what we'll see later on this afternoon with the Briggs and Stratton engine, the 206s, where you have to be really keeping that engine wound up to stay in the draft here. These KA carts, they can go a little bit more. They're less dependent. It's still a big help for them in the draft, but you can already see how it works out, where if you get that fresh, clean air, you're able to pull away pretty quickly, especially when other drivers are battling for position right here. As we watch this battle for second, Sherrick still maintains for the time being, but Estes, I think, is just going to settle in. He's trying to see what he can do, maybe learn a thing or two from Sherrick of how that car is handling around the circuit.
And just trying to see what to pick up on potentially here with the way things are shaping up at this point. Especially for later on. You can see the gap really expanding this time through as Sherrick gaps it out. 50 seconds up on the board. Should be about coming up to 3 to go. When we get up to the stripe, there's about a 5-second offset between the timer and where we expect to get the 2 lap to go signal for this field. But all you can say in terms of the comfortability right now up at the front of the field, if your Burkett is going exactly how you hope. Burkett also someone who's got experience in the drag racing scene, just finding a way to rapid fire speed around this racetrack here. Just making it clear why he's a local talent and have been someone who made an appearance in SKUSA Supernats back in 2024.
Also with that MPG Motorsports Group, I mean, you got to thank them. They have that big announcement during the off-season right now, as they are going to be one of the main factory carts for Kart Republic and going to be really much so competing in multiple other different series besides the normal. They are expected to be basing a lot of their championships besides USPKS, SKUSA, Stars, and of course the Route and the Apex Series, both here in the South Division, and then a major push in the North Division later on when we kick that off in 2026.
Coming up to 2 laps to go this time through. Burkett still holds on in front. Estes has closed back up with the fastest lap of the race. 45.6s. 45.4 flat. Estes flying to be able to have a chance for second place here in this heat. Gonna run is the question down the straightaway. They've really closed up all of a sudden. Where did this come from? More than a second back, now down to under 6/10 last time through. It's now down to 3 kart lengths. It's the closest the lead's been all morning for this heat. Sherrick has pushed hard. Estes has been pushing Sherrick even harder. And now they're coming up to the white flag with only a 3 kart length difference between first and second.
I think it's safe to say that these karts here in second and third had a little bit of a better of that long run pace compared to what we're seeing by Burkett. Burkett starting to dip down into the 46s right now, so that's a tough break as they come around to complete that final lap here around the circuit. And now we see Burkett goes on the defensive, trying to see where the others are, shuts the door in front of Sherrick as Sherrick tries to get back around for that race lead.
Will there be an opportunity to rip it away from Burkett, who's led the entire way? This is the best chance here. A look to the inside. cut off quickly by Burkett. Up to the final corners. Sherrick trying to find a way. Estes trying to peel his way to second, winning the grass for a moment to try and make the move. Burkett goes across the curbing, rumbles his way on forward. As they come up to the checkered, it's Burkett who gets the job done over Sherrick. He's in third, and Curtis Terry ends up being the driver at the tail end of the field in fourth position as the first heat of the day comes to a close here. Burkett having a bit of a scare at the end. He was up by as high as 1.2 seconds, Taylor.
Absolutely. I gotta say, I'm curious to see if that setup for them is more of that long run pace where they really showed the speed right towards the end. I mean, Brant Estes sets the record time here with a 45.297 around this track. I gotta say, keep an eye on him. He is gonna be trying to take the fight to both Sherrick and Burkett.
It's gonna make things all the more interesting when we get to the second heat to see if there's gonna be any switch arounds, especially at the tail end of tire life for those windows. But you see some of the various viewpoints around here at NOLA Motorsports Park. Of course, NOLA Motorsports Park, whole motorsports complex that actually features an FIA Grade 2 facility that has 13 turns around here also, that hosts USF Pro 2000s, as well as has had experience hosting dates like the 24 Hours of Lemons. At one point actually hosted an IndyCar race back in 2015. They also host some events with the SCCA, like involving the Ford Mustang Challenge over the years. So this track does have a fair bit of experience when it comes to what it hosts over the years for a facility that only opened its karting track back in 2011.
Absolutely. It's a great facility out here. I wish we would see more professional leveling series like the IndyCar or even the SRO GT America series came out here for a couple of years as well. But it's a great facility. You're in not too far from the heart of New Orleans with Bourbon Street and everything. Great location for fan experience. And I gotta say, this track, it's great to see it back on the 2025 national schedule and regional schedule. We'll be back here for the season opener of the SCUSA Pro Tour Series in 2026, as well as also a round in the Texas Sprint Racing Series.
Yeah. It's good. It's going to be an interesting time here today for these drivers now, as we continue on to see the preparations for our next race. KA Senior is going to be the interesting one coming up here for these drivers. We'll remember we had 10 drivers take time to qualifications. But Daniel Perez, you were mentioning that name. Danny in particular was able to pick up time while in the heart of the Hornet's Nest that we've seen packed up together there in that qualifying session. He seems to be confident, at least in terms of his ability in traffic, but he's going to have to deal with a lot of bit of pressure from some of the drivers from behind here, like Overbeck, like Avrutsky, and some of the other drivers here when we get back going next few moments here, Taylor.
Absolutely, and we're going to be seeing here and there you see a couple of drivers getting themselves lined up into the karts as we see James Overbeck getting behind the wheel. It's going to be an exciting one here in the KA Senior category, and I'm looking forward to see some of the new talent as well as some of the veterans that are making their way through.
Looks like everyone is all set to go with the last two karts plopped down. We'll see how they race it out here today, but these drivers in KA Senior are ready to let it rip here today in New Orleans. So Daniel Perez won of his tires by gapping the field up at the front. He'll get the chance to lead the field to green coming up here. So James over. Oh my goodness, at the back of the field. Things getting a little bit too much aggressive with the tire warming up. Pushing up a couple drivers there. Levi Getz, who had some issues trying to get launched up there, slid off the racetrack on the checkup effect. And it looks like they are able to get themselves gathered up here. Perez, Overbeck, Rutsky in the top 3. Corsi in the 4th position, gets in 5th. Wheeler in 6th. Also up in the field today is Silo, who will start in 7th. Mims in 8th. Centennial will start in 9th. Sims down in 10th in the order. Roussel and Bekzinski did not set qualifying times in the qualifying session, who are part of the entry list. So we are up to the tram lines to start things off for our next KA race. The KA seniors, for their first heat, take the green flag and are underway. Perez able to get himself clear up to the opening corners. They worked away to the quick little kink to the back straightaway, as a lot of drivers trying to swerve in the mid-pack.
Big time jumble right there as they try to negotiate to see who will lead this group, and so far that will go to the 922 of Levi Getz. Remember, he had that off going right there at the start of warm-up here, and now is trying to lead this pack to chase down Avrutsky, Overbeck, and Perez. He's got some help from Henry Wheeler, who knows a thing or two about getting around this circuit. One of your top national drivers working his way up through the running order.
A little bit of contact there to the back end of Wheeler for good measure on his charge up to the field. Wheeler already passing Corsi, who lost a couple spots off the jump, but already gets amongst those, have to close up a fair bit of time. The top 3 or so builds up a half a second buffer, getting swarmed. Here comes Wheeler making the pass. He ends up bringing Corsi with him, and that pushes the 922 back down to the 6th position.
Beautiful textbook pass right there by Henry Wheeler to wait for that moment, slingshot around, and have some help as well from Corsi as they get themselves, work their way around the circuit, and those 3 try to see if they can work together to hunt down your leaders as they come out of the final corner. There you see here as we go up to the leaders, and Avrutsky try to show the nose to the inside of Overbeck, thinks better of it, ducks back in the line.
A couple of different pokes going on to try and find a way to get around here. All of this as well. Still keep it on the second pack. The thing is, the tough thing about this is the more they battle like they are, Taylor, the more time they lose, as we touched upon earlier on. They have to figure out a way to be able to stay in sync. The top 3, mind you, they've stayed lined up a start for the most part here. Have been able to break away as a unit here, able to build up the buffer. Everybody else doesn't seem to have that same memo, that same willingness to work together to have a shot here with how things are looking to start things off.
And that's one of the things I've always been questioned about when it comes to any form of racing. You see drivers battling so hard for those positions. Granted, this is to help try to figure out how you will start in the final, plus there's points on the line, so you want to try to get as many points as you can possible in these heat races as well for the championship. But you're then losing your chance of getting those higher finishes if you keep battling with your competitors further and further behind you. As you see, the top 3 is just settled in. They're not worried about anyone behind them, focusing on just pulling away, waiting till the end of this race to then settle it amongst themselves.
You see, speaking of settling, they're not settling back down. Getz got the edge over Wheeler at the strike for a moment. It's Wheeler who's able to clear on by once again in that fight. Let's build up the buffer for the time being for Corsi, who's been able to jump back up into that position to be able to settle on down here. So as they continue to scrap it on out here, we're about halfway to the action here in KA Senior. Continue to see, can there be another chance for a swap around, especially some of the hard driving. We've seen Henry Wheeler run with a lot of big organizations over the years. Burrell Art appearances with PSL Karting over the years. He's going to have to fight to have a chance. But Perez, Overbeck, Lutsky, stay worked together, stay lined up astern. And right now, staying nose to tail. No one's made an attempt on Perez quite yet. They're just content to push, as it looks like a towel may have landed on the track, some sort of material.
Yeah, pretty interesting situation right there. Some debris on the racetrack, but How about Connor Corsi in 4th position, the 918 machine? He has been picking away little bit by little bit to catch up to your top 3. He has set the fastest lap of the race. Curious to see if he's going to be able to try and close this gap up. We'll find out as he comes across the line here if he's able to pick up a little bit more. It's 1.5 across the line, and as they come do so, no major gain. Everyone else is starting to pick up the pace here towards the end, but he is still holding a comfortable position, especially if these top 3 start to battle it out for the race win.
Of course, he's one of the drivers with Texas Sprint Racing Series experience, so he has had opportunities to race here in the past with that series. See if there's a chance to be able to close up the 2.5 here, but with 2 minutes on the board, something's going to have to give eventually here. James Overbeck, what else can you say about that name, though, when it comes to what we've seen here, why he's having opportunities once again to battle? Former SCUSA Pro champion, has picked up a couple Stars championships over the years, a couple of WKA championships. He's been a champion in a lot of different series, to say the very least, and races a fair bit. He's one of the bigger names in karting and has the opportunity to pop out potentially soon in that battle up at the front.
Speaking of other battles happening, let's take a look at this battle for P7 right now between Mims, Santinello, and Zacucilo as they are working their way through around the circuit. This is a battle for 7th through 9th, and I gotta say, for the driver of Ian Mims, good start for him as he tries to hold off. He's been working his way through, making improvements on his lap times as he tries to hold on in the red speed, with, of course, the next kart behind Santinello, who is holding on in the 8th spot as we go back to the leaders with should be about 4 laps to go.
Right now, just 53 seconds and closing down on the board here. Right now, for reference, Corsi hasn't been able to close up quite yet on the board. He's only closed up maybe a 1/10 of a second to the top 3 on raw speed. We've seen drivers pick up momentum over the course of a few laps once again in the draft range, but doesn't seem to be getting a whiff of it here as we come up to what's going to be 3 laps to go. When do you see the move come out here, Taylor? When do you see Overbeck or Abrutsky try and make this pass attempt here, especially since Overbeck has now built up a buffer for second?
I think for Overbeck right now, he's going to wait till the last possible minute to where he feels comfortable he can not only take that lead, but also make sure he maintains the race lead is going to be the big question right now, because he doesn't want to just make the pass and then have Perez come back on him either the next lap or on the next straightaway. He wants to make sure he holds on to it and tries to see if he can pull away as they work their way through the infield section of the circuit. Great drive here for all 3 of our competitors in the KA Seniors. Trouble for the 950 of Evan Santinello, who was having such a good run in top 7, now out of it in today's action.
Well, Santinello, now one of the drivers who found the barriers up on the far side of the course. Well, we'll see some pickup as a result between the races. But speaking of races, lap and a half to go. Still no triggers being pulled yet. When do they pull the pin is the huge question, or do they stay content to the end? Overbeck looking like he's trying to cool down the tires a touch. Set up for one more charge attempt for the final lap. Needs to close up 2 kart lengths. Be up the back end of Perez again. They'll come up to the white flag here. Danny Perez has led the entire way so far today. He'll come up to the white flag this time by Overbeck is now in charge mode. Watch for those arcs. He's trying to set something up for the straightaway.
Well, he's going to have a little bit more to do as here goes Perez towing all the way to the bottom of the racetrack to try and throw the block on Avrutsky, but who now moves up to 2nd position, gets a good run. That was the main passing opportunity. So now these drivers in 2nd and 3rd are going to have to get creative. Here comes Overbeck for 2nd.
Back and forth they go still for the 2nd position. That's exactly what Perez wanted to see. He builds up a buffer. Overbeck looking to defend for one more section of the corners. Will Rutsky find a way back to the inside. Tries it again. Trying to take another poke. But it's going to be Daniel Perez who's able to hold on and lead wire to wire to win heat number 1 over Overbeck and Rutsky Yeah, of course, it gets in the top 5. Gets actually trimmed a bit of gap down for that spot. And here we are, still in 6th. Bizio in 7th. Mittens down in the 8th position. Sims, as a result of the crash for the 950, up to the 9th position at the very end. Tadeo finished out in the 10th position, 3 laps down. So we've talked about your KA Senior Heat 1 running order in this 10 kart grid. We're about halfway through the first heats of the day. With that being said, we'll take a quick step aside. When we come back, a lot more action. You're watching Kart Chaser once again here for Apex Karting Championships action for the Southeast.
Are you stuck with your kart racing? Not sure the ideal kart setup? Or going to a track for the first time? Well, Kart Class has the answers for you. Our online portal has a wealth of experience and knowledge to help your kart racing. From kart setup advice to track guides that are targeted specifically to your circuit, or the driver coaching aspect with mindset, racecraft and driving techniques. If you want to take your karting to the next level, visit us at kartclass.com.
You know, I'm really starting to like this go-karting thing.
Yeah, me too. Oh my gosh, can I show you this cute dress I just got?
Yes, of course. Oh my goodness, it's so cute.
I just love shopping.
I love shopping too.
Oh my gosh.
Wait, did you guys say you like shopping?
Of
Yeah.
course.
Well, dude, I have the perfect place to do that at. ShopPayCara.com. At ShopPayCara.com, you can get free shipping on orders $200 or more. You can get anything you want, like MXC rims, gloves, rib vests, shoes, anything that you need, all at ShopPayCara.com.
Who is he talking to?
No idea.
But we're gonna have to check it out. Sounds like a great deal.
Sure does.
Cat food marketing. $9.99 a month.
Dude, Caleb, wake up. Dude, we're live in 5 minutes. Let's go. Come on. What are you doing?
Dude, I'm so sorry. Xander had me in a cat food marketing meeting till like 2 a.m. last night.
Come on, man.
Do you have anything I can drink?
Dude, I got the perfect thing for you. Perico. It's a healthy energy drink alternative.
Perico, non-GMO, gluten-free, kosher, magnesium, B12, B6,
Yeah, it's good.
B5, biotin, and 0 sugar? Pericazo! Try Perico, made with natural ingredients, organic caffeine, and supports your metabolism. Try the new official energy drink of Kart Chaser.
Karts are on circuit once again as we get ready for the minis and the micros. We are making our way forward for our starting grid. It's mostly the minis here today. 9 minis, 1 micro. Ready to go for our third heat of our first group of said heats. Mason Brody up at the front over Tristan Francisco, Bo Stowers, and Andrew Stasio is in row 2. Liam Francisco, Ruben Greer will start in row 4. Or rather, should say row 3. Math is hard. Trey Sanders and Liam 4. That is more simpler. We'll start in row 4 with Parker Firestein down in 9th. Spencer Height is the only of the drivers in the micro class today. So these drivers just about ready to battle it out for points. Clock is rolling. We're underway for the minis and the micros. We'll see how the battles pack up as the first 5-6 karts get single file. Already Brody going defensive. Some of the drivers trying to signal, let's work together. Others saying, let's go 3 wide.
How about this down into the corner? A couple of drivers going 2 by 2 as they now finally condense back to single file here as drivers negotiate through the chaos of an opening lap here at NOLA. And already Brody trying to hold strong against Francisco. Stowers starting to close in as well as the top 3 start to separate with, of course, the driver of Anastasio holding on to tail end, Charlie, of this group of 4.
Stowers, you mentioned amongst those looking to find a way still forward. At least one car, I believe, just rolled through along the pit road. But everybody else continues to battle out heartily in the pack. Sanders amongst those, seeing the shuffle, but out of the front of the field. Speaking of shuffling attempts, it's time to change for the race lead. Brody gets shuffled out by the Canadian champion, Tristan Francisco. He's now up to the point. The 7-year-old leads in front of the field. Stowers waits in the popcorn seat as we continue to see things battle out. Now the tough thing's going to be for Francisco defending the rest of the way, especially in this passing opportunity. Great peel down by Brody. Makes the move, cutting to the inside. Taking advantage of the wider arc by Francisco as some of the others take advantage of the shallower lines.
Yeah, Ruben Greer as well as the driver of Liam 4 are having a good fight, pushing each other and shoving to try to see who will take the charge heading into the corner right now. And Greer will do that as with a beautiful pass there, a little aggressive, as now we go back up, see a couple of drivers thinking about trying to set themselves up to move up a position. That, of course, being Stowers. Thought better of it, tucks back into line here as they work their way through. And I gotta say, now that Brody has control of the race lead, does he just try to see if he can work with these drivers and see if these drivers learned anything from the 2 previous races? Or are they just going to go all out and fight for every single chance, make every pass that they can?
I believe you're referring to the warm-up in the qualifying. That being a different tempo set, you'd have to think, though, Taylor, because in that mindset, it's just set the fastest time, try and utilize your competitors as a drafting partner maybe, build up the path, go. We've seen in a lot of cases, though, some of these drivers say, pass, pass, another pass, give you another pass. A lot of these younger drivers, they are out here trying to learn racecraft, keep in mind. In many cases here, some of them might not have the same patience level compared to some of the others. We've seen that with that pass just moments ago, the heart of the field here. But the rest of the pack, quite simply, it's about building out racecraft over time for these youngsters as they move up to the ranks and as they get faster and faster and faster cars that might feel more and more different as you move up to the ranks.
No, right now, Brody and Francisco are having a good idea of it, trying to pull away from the rest of the field as we go back to the battle for sticks and position, with Sanders now holding on to that spot. Trey Sanders in the 136, really good run through here as they head down the back straightaway. Anyone going to pop out for position? Nope, going to settle in here and try to just maintain, see if these two can hunt down 3rd and 4th position.
Nothing doing when it comes to this battle here. Liam Francisco, of course, waiting to Tristan. He's also had some good successes for his own sake, we mentioned. But right now, that buffer past the halfway point between the 2 packs, it's 7/10 and growing. Right now, Brody in that red and black machine continues to be the one able to dictate the pace. You can see that Stowers is trying to figure out a way to work with Anastasio, say, we've got to find a way to close, but it's just not working for that pink and teal machine to get the help they're looking for to close out. Stowers should say, in terms of that, from the 143, they have not been able to really stay hooked up together. They've built up a lot of separation in the corners.
Another thing also, they are really off the pace. Even with these two trying to work together, they're about 4/10 off, as now around the inside, Anastasio moves around Stowers for position, gives a little tap of the helmet, and also some drivers jockeying for the race lead of Francisco and Brody. Do those two now start to fight it out a little bit? Not close enough to try to set up a pass, but this is now starting to compress the field a little bit with this passing for position here, because here comes Francisco of Liam Francisco closing in on this group of two.
They're doing a good job to close it up, working with Greer a little bit to do that. You see Greer with the 120 machine with the colorful pattern. It's getting their cart. Going to take a little bit more effort for the 141 to trim it down. Last time by on the speed differential, it was 47.6s for Liam Francisco. Stowers was still in the 5s despite the pass around from Anastasio in terms of that pace up at the front of the field. Some more swapping around as Liam Francisco does take another peek around to hold back Greer. Still not close for the range as they have about 4 or 5 laps to get the job done here. Back up front, checking on the leaders, by the way. Still no change. Brody and Tristan Francisco still staying tucked in together. Tristan Francisco right now has the 111 right exactly where he wants him. The question is going to be, will there be an opportunity to try and take this heat race win away? You can see him just trying to ride along and follow along the tire tracks to plot and plan.
He's learning everything he can. That's one of the benefits when it comes to racing here with these drivers and being that second place. You're learning a little bit. You're learning where these drivers make mistakes, where you could try and overcome. See where you're better on the track compared to your competitor. That is a big help for him right now as he just waits to see where that weak spot is. Find that nick and go for it. As they work down the back straightaway, Francisco is going to stay tucked up. Meanwhile, a little further behind, here comes Stowers back into third with a beautiful pass as one driver off the racing circuit here. That looks like to be the 180 of Firestein, one of our other mini drivers.
Firestein was at the back of the field here. It's not been the greatest times right now for Firestein here for their respective run here. So the air pack has closed up and converged. A little bit of swapping around. We'll see Greer move up to 5th. Stasio down all the way to 6th, in fact. Greer, one of the fastest drivers in final warm-up, went on the curb and pushed out the 141 of Liam. Side by side with Tristan going for it. Back and forth with multiple battles, popping up with less than 2 laps to go. Tristan Francisco goes up to the point. As now, it's the defense that is also critical for when they get to these corners. Brody, all with the rear end, looking for a place to undercut. He peels to the right side, once again diving up the corner. Brody retakes the race lead coming up to the white.
Mason Brody found that weakness. He made the pass and made it stick. A beautiful drive right there for him as they take the white flag. One more time around us, Francisco respond back in the same position or tries to pull the role reversal and make the pass like we saw Mason Brody just do. Down the back straightaway for the final time. Stowers in third, trying to close in, but it might be too little too late as Francisco all the way to the bottom nearly makes contact with Mason Brody.
He tried it sharply to the inside. A couple drivers have done that. It's a lot of space and real estate you can have down at this 0.75 mile circuit down the back straightaway. But it's going to require a massive send from here. Brody has the buffer by 2 kart lengths. Has led just about the entire way today outside of a couple moments. Coming through the final corner, Mason Brody comes through the final straightaway. Will get the chance to celebrate a heat. Top 5 most of the time. Sanders falls down the order. Liam 4 loses ground at the very end, down to 8 spots. Spencer Height actually ahead of Firestein, as Height by default gets the top spot in the micro side. Firestein is able to keep going after his slide into the grass, but lost a lap. But it's Mason Brody who gets the job done. He got the effort done because of, well, raw speed, quite simply, first, Taylor, but second, there's a lot of opportunities to make passes, it seems, in the 4th to last corner. in some of the classes in particular, I've noticed, if you're brave enough and someone opens up that corner to be able to get the arc in the first place to the left side of the track, that right side of the track is pre-real estate if you're able to clear by apex and park it.
Absolutely here, and with that, it's going to be critical to see how these drivers try to work their way through in this second heat race, because weather's still going to continue to progress more and more as we progress in this race. But now it's time for our KA Junior heat race here momentarily, and I got to say, that one is going to be an exciting one to keep an eye on. If that was just a taste of what we saw in our mini and micro division.
Now keep in mind, as our qualifying session earlier did see a couple carts have issues, it's worth noting that Jet Price actually had his best time deleted from the KA Junior qualifying session for incident responsibility. Jet Price ended up 8th in the session regardless. That was about where he was running before the issues that popped up for Jet in the session. So the driver's just waiting for the next few moments to make sure everything is up to their safety checks. What are you talking about with your crew members or your family members as you get set here for the roll? What are some of those final checks in your sake that you've noticed over the years when it comes to these drivers?
Well, one thing I will say for certain is make sure those tires are tight, make sure everything is tightened in the possible place. I mean, we've seen in the opening runs before they take the green flag, a tire falls off, of course. Just making sure that find that rhythm that they need. Work with your teammate if you have one, and just make sure you go out there and put on good performance for you. It is critical for this here in these heat races to get those points and also work your way to have that best starting position for the finals tomorrow morning for these drivers.
It's going to be interesting where things shake up on the very end for the pre-finals and the finals tomorrow. Bulletin's coming over for the K senior race of note. Ian Mims just picked up a 5-second avoidable contact penalty the previous race. So Tyler Sims instead will finish in 9th. Ian Mims will finish down in 8th. As a result of that shuffle, all other results that we've seen on the broadcast have stayed lined up the same from the race bulletin so far. But these drivers are ready to hit the racetrack. Let's find out how they are going to start for what is our final first heat of the day. Before we get to our second heats, in quick fashion here. These races go quick here with 7 minutes plus 2 laps, don't they? But it's Tyrone Kemper Jr. It's going to be your pole sitter, followed by Parker Rise with Cameron Johnson and Oliver Nyberg. Will start at the front of the field. Colton Snegenberg will start in 5th with Sean Portnoy in 6th. Harrison Burklow starts in 7th. Jet Price, as mentioned, still in the 8th position despite the best time getting deleted for the previous session. Jordan Lapham will start in 9th. Then you have in the top 10, Riley Duplier, who will start in 10th. You have Siva Kumar will start in the 11th position, a part of your running order in this pack. Just about ready to make our way through the tram lines. Now in formation. Start zone, you see the blue cone on top of those bundle of tires that they will make their way up to. Pass by the timing beacons here as they are ready to fire. Tyrone Kemper Jr. makes the move, makes the gun, makes the gas. Green flag is out. We're underway. Johnson keeps the pressure up for a split second for 3rd, and immediately to the defense they go. Kemper Jr. hard to the inside of the racetrack. Outside goes Ives for a moment. Ives forces Kemper Jr. to slide around. A few drivers start him on the outside as everyone gets checked up in the battle for 4th.
We take that aggression on opening laps and we'll crank it up to 11 right here with these competitors as they try to find their way to see who wants to lead that opening lap, as they were really putting the pressure on Tyrone Kemper Jr., Parker Ives, and then Cameron Johnson really pushing the envelope right there as they try to find their opening to lead on the opening lap across the line, side by side a little bit further back in this group of 3. But here comes Nyberg to the inside to take over the 2nd spot from Parker Ives.
Able to jump up there as a result, and it's still not done for some of the battles inside the top 5. Drives like Snegenberg want to pick up a lot of lost ground for the qualifying session. See some of the defensive maneuvers back there from the straightaway. To work their way to the technical corners. That's built up the gap by 6-7 kart lanes already between Pack 1 and Pack 2. Sneakenberg is the head of Pack 2, all while Berklow sees some of the side-by-side pop up. 810 zips around for the high side. Johnson able to get back around, and that builds the buffer even more amongst the top drivers as Johnson needs to find a way to get some breathing room to close this up now.
Cameron Johnson, one of your biggest movers so far, picking up 2 spots as we go back up to the front of the field. Kemper shuts the door in front of Nyberg, who tries to find the opening, but here comes Parker Ives with a beautiful over-under, crosses him up and pushes him into the grass a little bit, but Nyberg will try to find his opening to maintain as Ives just tries to snake his way around to get the second spot, which is allowing Tyrone Kemper Jr. to pull away from the top second and third.
We're running multiple different classes when it comes to his racing these days. K100 Juniors, X30 Juniors, also picked up top 3 in the IAME Grand Nationals back this year during the summertime. But it's Kemper Jr. that's got the buffer in the front of the field for the time being. Half a second last time through. Still looking to swerve around. Sneakenberg still continues to not want to let anybody else go after losing half a second to Johnson. And we know Sneakenberg was the top driver in the warm-ups earlier on today, has lost a lot of ground here compared to some of the others that are just trying to dig, such as Portnov, who has so far lost a spot after originally starting in 6th position. You see him in the teal and green machine.
Oliver Nyberg sets the fastest lap of the race so far. He is currently trying to kick in those afterburners. This is where he gets his most aggressive here on this straightaway. Does he tuck in? Yes, he does. Kemper sensed it, shuts the door on him as Parker Ives is just patiently waiting. He's not going to fall for it. He wants to try to see if these 2 ahead of him make the mistake to where he can capitalize on it. And with these 3 battling it out, that's bringing Cameron Johnson into the picture here. Now it's a 4-horse race to the inside. Nyberg shoves his way up, gets the race lead away from Tyrone Kemper Jr. as Parker Ives will follow suit, dropping Kemper back to 3rd.
That's how quickly things can change with this draft package when it comes to the KA Juniors. Get one opportunity, it opens up the door for others, and guess what? That's closed up all the karts again. That had been more than a second gap. That's how big the difference is. Big block. Nyberg not wanting to give this up again. Missed the corner though. Here comes Ives. Ives squeezes off the 856. Nyberg holds on to it, slides around the racetrack yet again. He comes up into the 4th position. Kemper Jr. able to jump back to 2nd. But Parker Ives getting the elbows out, coming out of some of these corners here to try and hold on.
Parker Ives digging deep into his NASCAR roots to show the bumper and ready to fight it here for the race lead as they come down across the front straightaway here. And Nyberg dropping to 4th. He's got a little bit of work to do, but how about Cameron Johnson just picking them off one by one here? He could have a shot of maybe going for the race lead here in your KA Junior Heat Race 1.
Parker Ives, very fast wherever we see him across the country. Charlotte, for example, one of the areas seemed to really thrive in his hometown racetrack at that point. But he still has less than 2 minutes to be able to hold off the fierce pack yet again. Kemper Jr. last time through, 3/10 slower, but we've seen it have a slower lap usually in the opening part of trying to get lined up for a position because you made the pass. Then you end up gaining a little bit, then you gain a lot of it. Speaking of a lot of it, it was the fastest lap of the race set by Kemper Jr. 3/10 quicker than Ives yet again as the lot of it range comes in. Here comes Ives feeling the footsteps. His brand new helmet pivots around as he continues to try and play defense. Kemper Jr. can't force the inside to work yet. He seems fast, but the problem's going to be for Kemper Jr. actually finding the poke. How do you force this pressurized mistake here, Taylor? That's the question here if you're Kemper Jr.
You got to keep the pressure on Parker Ives, but the problem is you got to worry about the pressure that's building. He'll look to the outside and make a pass complete to take over the race lead. A beautiful drive as they now battle it out for second. Parker Ives now has to deal with the pressure of Johnson, and here comes Nyberg to the inside, ducked back into line here as he goes a little bit too wide off corner exit.
For a lot of the drivers right now, the question's going to be now, again, where will the next move come? How about right now? Parker Ives going for the crossover, coming out of the corner, takes it away. Retakes the advantage. Kemper Jr. trying to set up a crossover back. Again, couldn't get alongside as they work their way up to the next great passing opportunity, the fourth to last corner. Yet again, they go. Kemper Jr. seems to be one of those drivers that doesn't want to wait much longer here yet again, Taylor. We've already seen one aggressive move in the final corners. We see it again as we come up to what's going to be a couple to go. And a spin in the back. That's going to be Nyberg around. The 956 brings up some grass as he goes the wrong way around for a moment.
He is able to get back on all four wheels as he went up on at least two wheels briefly as we go back up to the race lead. Parker Ives onto the fence to keep the driver of Tyrone Kemper Jr. behind, who tries to climb the curbing a little bit right there and see if he can find a hole. But here comes Cameron Johnson snaking his way around, looking to see if he can get the second spot away.
And remember, Johnson started this race in third spot, had to work his way back from a few spots into the Hornet's Nest, immediately powered his way back after the passing opportunities. That was a prime position to have a chance to thrive from second. How do you get this done if you're Johnson is the question now, because Kemper Jr.'s once again in the prime spot to go for the move again, Taylor. And right now, there doesn't seem to be a chance for overlap on Kemper Jr. with how they're racing it out up front.
Kemper's really, though, trying to go as far down to the bottom of the racetrack that he can possibly make it stick. He nearly touched the grass on the back straightaway as he climbed the curbing into the corner entry. That had to cause him to back off a little bit, giving Parker a chance to at least breathe for a brief second as he tries to wind it back up and make the run. Kemper giving hand signals to Johnson and Portnoy, who are trying to see if they can hunt down your race leader with the white flag in the air.
White flag is out. Final time around as Parker Ives holds on in front by 3 kart lengths. Largest lead really since Kemper Jr.'s race. He's had to fight to be able to have this opportunity in the first place, to be able to hold on to the Hornet's Nest. Got the elbows out in the battle with Nyberg at one point. But now it's Parker Ives working his way on through into the final corners. Will Kemper Jr. have a chance for one more lunge? Not close enough. It's Ives with the final corners. Parker Ives comes out of the final corner and will get this chance to take the checker flag. He gets it done. First tee of the KA Juniors. Kemper Jr. in second. Cameron Johnson in third. Portnoy and Burklow get in the top 5. It's some of the drivers like Davalier who dropped down to 6th position. Nyberg down in 7th. Price in 8th. Lapham down in 9th. Sivakumar in 10th. Smegenberg finishes multiple laps down. It's a DNF in this one. 11th position after his incidents built up, it looked like, in the late stages of this one. Some wild racing here in the first heats, Taylor, as our first grouping of races close out, but our second heats around the corner.
Absolutely. It's time to re-rack them and restack them, go back to the top, and see if anyone can go back-to-back. And we get set for heat race number 2 for the morning session.
We'll take a break. When we come back, heat 2 begins for our classes in the KA chassis. You're watching the Apex Karting Championships in the Southeast, here from New Orleans.
This is Henry. Henry feels sad. Henry feels sad because it's time for his next big race and his go-kart is in bits. Henry doesn't know that Acceleration Kart Racing is the United States' #1 shop for all of your karting equipment needs. Henry also doesn't know that Acceleration Kart Racing can deliver anything from tires to race suits and even wheels directly to your front door or to the racetrack itself quickly and efficiently, with tech support available 6 days a week. Poor Henry doesn't even know that Acceleration Kart Racing offers free shipping to mainland USA on selected product if you spend $200 or more. Do yourself a favor. Go to accelerationkarting.com and make sure that you are never left stuck on the pre-grid with Henry. Be smart and don't be like Henry.
Join us for the biggest kart racing convention of the year, the 40th OVKA Kart Racing Trade Show and Swap Meet, Saturday, January 24th, Roberts Center, Wilmington, Ohio. Whether you're into sprint karting, dirt and oval racing, road racing, unlimiteds, or vintage karting, there are deals here for you. Shop our 60,000 square foot show floor, filled with the karts, parts, and supplies you need. Network with kart racers of all disciplines from across the country. Get insights from experts at our performance seminars. Visit our Intro to Kart Racing open house to get started in racing. Visit OVKA.com. Vendor registration is now open. OVKA.com.
Hey, what's up, Caleb?
What's up, Brandon?
You sound defeated. A long day at the office?
Yeah, got stuck at a cat food marketing meeting for like 3 hours. I don't know a thing about cat food, and I don't even work in marketing. And then I got sent on a coffee run like I was some sort of intern. Then at the end of the day, when I want to go get gas, I just realized everything is so darn expensive nowadays, man.
Yeah, you got that right.
Like, do you have any idea how much we're spending on Netflix?
That's like $20 a month.
Do you know how much we're spending on cable?
That's like $50 a month.
But you know what isn't expensive?
Tell me.
Kart Chaser Premium. For only $9.99 a month, you can watch all of the American karting action live from coast to coast. Subscribe and become a member today.
Are you looking to take the next step in your racing journey? Well, look no further than PitFit.
With 2 locations in Charlotte, North Carolina and Indianapolis, Indiana, PitFit trains drivers all the way from grassroots level karting to IndyCar and NASCAR, with top-of-the-line personalized coaching to improve physical and cognitive fitness.
For more information on programs, check out PitFit on Instagram or Facebook today.
Are you ready to get behind the wheel? From Formula One to NASCAR and IndyCar, all the pros start here. For more information, check us out online at mcckarting.com or call us and go racing today.
karts are on track and zipping around as the KA Masters complete our Brico energy drink countdown to green for our next grouping of karts here, as we are just about set to go once again here from NOLA Motorsports Park. Justin Prince, Taylor Burris with you. It's heat number 2 for our action for the Apex Karting Championships here from New Orleans, Louisiana. Front row, once again, Shane Burkett. Then alongside him, once again, will feature your Thomas Sherrick. Brent Estes will start in third with Curtis Terry in the 4th position. Top to bottom at the running order here as we get set for our second heat races of the day. Green lights already coming up. Through the cones they go. We're underway for race number 2 for the KA Masters. And side by side start at the back of the field. Sherrick did not get going to start, Taylor. He gets swarmed.
How about Curtis Terry getting up on the wheel right there to take that fight over to Sherrick? I talked to Bobby Krug a little bit before this second heat race. Asked him about the kart. Is it set for that long run? He had a good feeling that that kart would come into play later on in the run, but also gave a little nudge over there to Tommy Sherrick and said maybe he finally learned how to drive that kart a little bit better to get up on the wheel. But he's got some work to do here on this second heat race, as he is going to have to fight his way by a significant margin to retake and have a shot at second place or the race lead.
Indeed, and keep in mind, we mentioned Sherrick running multiple classes today. Also have some of the other drivers in that camp, like Chad Miller, who are going to be the leader program. Avery Shalom, who will be embracing. Many others who have come from the Gateway program, who are part of the action. But it's Sherrick who's able to retake third at the very least, get by Terry, but has lost plenty of ground here in the opening minute and a third. It's going to take a lot of effort to close up. Speaking of effort, remember, it was a big advantage for Burkett in the first race until the final moment. As, well, all I can say is the paper bags blow on by. That's not going to be a factor for the karts. It's in the grass. The rest of the field, they're making sure they don't get blown away by the rapid speed of the top 2.
Yeah, winds are starting to pick up a little bit right now, looking at just about 4 to 5 miles an hour, and it's going to only pick up as the day progresses, especially from the sea breeze coming from the coast here of New Orleans, as Shane Burkett works his way over to the race lead. Brent Estes having everything he needs to work on through and try to take the fight away. Make sure Shane Burkett does not go back-to-back in the heat racing action here, as he sets the pace coming out of the final couple of corners. Estes, definitely your fastest driver on the track.
Yeah, he's looking pretty solid here with last time by the 7th. He was another couple 100s quicker than the race leader, this time by 45.508 on the lap count. Question is, will Estes have an opportunity to go for the move, or will he just remain patient here? Keep in mind, Sherrick at all of this, he's still about 2 seconds back, and if they start battling pretty heavily for the race lead, 1 or 2 battle pass attempts here, Taylor, and you allow the 499 to be right about back in the drafting distance. That's the risk that Estes has if he goes for a pass too early. He also has the risk if it waits too late that it's going to be difficult for Burkett, or to get around Burkett in general.
Well, we saw in the first heat race, Shane Burkett really was that rabbit. He was able to chase and pull away from the competition quite early on. My question is, did he make those needed adjustments to kind of balance him out a little bit, where maybe he has got that pace towards the end and not try to worry about the competition closing in? Estes is doing what he needs to do to stay up to the back bumper, as it's now just a 2-horse race between them, as they have continued to pull further away from Sherrick in third.
Yeah, Sherrick's not finding a way to close up at all in this sequence right now. We'll say when it comes to today, when it comes to the battles we've seen so far in the races, the prime thing I've noticed is being able to get something set up, not just for the back straightaway, where it's pretty clear, I should rather say, that a lot of the drivers are trying to swerve immediately to the inside of the racetrack. Take the cut to the inside, don't allow a peel off to the inside corner for the next set of corners. But a lot of the passes have come more in Sector 3 in the technical side of the racetrack. By far, at this part of the track that the karts are in right now. After they work through the S's, there's an opening that seemed to have popped up we talked about. There's also the ones in the penultimate corners of the complex. It seems like that balancing act to be able to actually find the pass where, yeah, there's the best chance if you can get a draft along somebody and peel off to the inside, but you still have to be able to hit your corners if you want to get the job done.
Absolutely. I think Shane Burkett is trying to get the job done a little bit early right now. He sets fast lap of the race so far and putting on a blistering time and starting to break away a little bit right here as now the draft is trying to condense them back together. But he really, in that final sector, has some great pace to pull away from Brandt.
Yep, right now, Brandt XC's still yet to chip away the couple tenths back that he had closed up previously in the early going. Still have less than 2 minutes to be able to work on something and figure out what he can do from here. Mind you, Sherrick just hasn't been able to chip away at all. He's gone the opposite way. He's stayed relatively close to his fast lap, within 2/10 of it, 45.7 to 45.9 is his range right now. But the others are just 2/10 quicker on the average per lap. That's how much the top two have been able to stay consistent compared to what we've seen with Sherrick, who hasn't been able to set down the rapid time on those tires to be able to chip away this distance.
Been watching SD's kart a lot, and especially in that triple, that wide sweeping corner before they get to here, is that kart seems to be bouncing quite a bit on the corner exit, making him lose a little bit of touch with Shane Burkett. Right now, he's able to get a good run out of the final corner, which helps him to stay tucked up behind and try to see if he can set up a pass here before it's all said and done. But he needs to be careful with that final few couple of corners and where he is struggling the most.
Yep, and right now, they continue to plot and plan things here with 23 seconds to work with on the clock. Looks like Estes looking to try and get ready to send it again. Needs to be able to keep up to the number plate, just about stay within at least a little bit of a half kart length. Wants any chance on Burkett here. 3 laps to go. Estes taking the shower lines right now compared to Burkett. Now builds up the run. This has been the difficult part, to chip away down the long straightaway, even with the toe. Burkett has just been that much better with the way the gearing's been set up. Just seems to have that extra oomph down the straightaways that he needs compared to what Burkett's been able to run. And that's where Burkett's only been able to maintain rather than chip away. Give it a 2 to go.
Burkett continues to hold on to the race lead. ST's trying to find that little bit extra here. He can try to overcome and find the opening as they get the 2 to go signal, this time by a little check of the shoulder from Shane Burkett, trying to go and sweep the day's action here for the hometown hero as he leads the charge down the back straightaway with 2 laps to go. No pressure whatsoever. Estes is just going to stay tucked up behind to wait for maybe a final last lap ditch effort to make it work for him.
Going to take a big effort here. It's going to take a bold drive to the inside, to say the very least. How Burkett has led all the laps this entire run. As some of the fans watching along said before, nerves might come up to play when you feel the footsteps pressurized behind, to paraphrase a little bit to that. The last lap is underway. Estes now has found a way to get up to that number plate. Can he find a way to get alongside that side piece? Bit of a block to the middle of the racetrack. Estes gonna send it. He licks the stamp. He parks it. Estes able to clear for the race lead, and for the first time today, Burkett is not out in front. Brent Estes goes through the final sector. Looking to close things out now after that move, forcing it up through the drafting section. We talked about the need to be bold. He was bold. It's Estes who for the first time today will get a lead lap and will get himself a race victory. He wins Heat 2 of the KA Masters over Burkett. Sherrick in third, and Terry gets fourth. It took a lick of the stamp, and he did it.
Incredible pass right there by Brant Estes to make it work for him and take over the chance here for winning heat race number 2. I gotta say, we are having an exciting race here for tomorrow afternoon for these 4 drivers. They're gonna put on a stellar fight to the finish.
I think especially if Estes keeps up what we just seen tomorrow in terms of the way the setup is going to play out for these drivers. Sherrick going to need a big bounce back tomorrow if he wants an opportunity to battle with the top 2, especially with the gap built up after Estes stayed in front of Sherrick after the initial jump. So our first heat race complete for the second grouping of races. And that will get the next grouping of drivers ready to go on the racetrack. Remember, KA Senior had 1 modification to the race results. Outside of that, it was Daniel Perez that looked to be pretty fierce up at the front of the field. Overbeck was up there. Vritsky. You also had Corsi, who had to chip away the gap a little bit. What do you think is going to happen this time, Taylor?
Well, I gotta say, Perez is definitely going to be the one to have to hold on here for dear life. But could we see Overbeck or someone else find their way through to take over and have the shot of winning in this heat race? Courtsy, I gotta say, is one to watch. He's got that pace. He has it there towards the end, especially if your top 3 start fighting it out. And don't forget Avrutsky. He has got also an incredible pace in this race, and really looking forward to seeing what he can accomplish here in the second heat race.
And that's the major thing right now, is being able to figure out just how you're going to be able to hold off this entire pack once again. And for some of these drivers, find a way to be able to claw their way forward again. Henry Wheeler is a good example where he had to fight a fair bit just to get his decent position in the last race. For reference, Wheeler ended up still finishing in 6th, but got as high as the top 4 or so. It's going to take a big effort and a quick effort to make the passage, you'd have to think, to make sure that there's a chance to be able to keep up with this main pack once you start to separate out a little bit.
How about Henry Wheeler nearly missing the start of the race? You saw him just running along with his crew to get the kart on the grid. He could have missed out on this second heat race. Not a good situation. Have to check in to see what happened. He came so late for this heat race.
So here's the lineup for heat number 2. It's Daniel Perez again up the front, James Overbeck, Sam Wurtsky, and Connor Corsi. Levi Getz and Henry Wheeler row 3. Alex Cusillo will start in 7th with Ian Mims in 8th. Sentinel will start in 9th position. Tyler Sims in 10th. Russell and Baksinski did not take part in the first heat race and in qualifying. So the drivers warm up their tires, make sure they are up to temperature here once again, because once again, this track fairly rubbered up in the corners here, especially with the amount of practice laps. 5 different practice sessions in the first place yesterday. Today, they put together a lot more of it to add that extra grip that drivers will have to battle and attack in. We're underway for the restart of a racing action. Heat 2 underway for the KA Seniors. Perez not electing to go defensive. Most of the field electing to go for some cuts. Overbeck leapfrogs amongst those into the top 2. Ritsky also following on suit, so the top couple already making passes as Forfon back yet again get busy.
It's going to be tight up there as already Perez dropping back to P3 here, as now he is going to have to fight his way through and see how his kart manages in dirty air here as they battle it out. Courtsy, Wheeler, and company all jockeying for position on the opening lap.
Vritsky up at the front of the field, over back in Perez. On that opening jump, that's how good the run from row 2 was from the 924. Here it comes Overbeck this time. Got into the inside, Overbeck drives on by, no issue. Taking the momentum to the front. That's kind of what we might see in some circumstances here. Yes, you say stay aligned, work together, but there's also the air mindset, Taylor. You have to take the momentum somewhere if you have the run, and that's what we're seeing for the top three so far. They're taking the runs and just going to the point.
It's a smart move because you don't want to get bogged down and mess up your chance of maybe making another run later on. So take the run, let it all come to you. If you have the pace, you can make it stick as James Overbeck tries to stretch it out a little bit further out of the S's onto the back straightaway.
Making way down that way already. The gap between the two packs, 1.4 seconds here, say the very least. That's a very high gap that you have to close up unless you get some battling here. It's going to be hard. So what do you do if you're Wheeler, once again, back in the prime position to try and chip away to these three? Where does the pressure lie to be able to chip this gap away, especially knowing it looks like the top three have gone into work together mode for a little bit?
Well, if I'm Wheeler, I'm hoping for a driver who is right behind me, Levi Getz. Do not make a pass. Work with me. Hunt down and pray your top three start battling it out here pretty soon to reel in your competition. And right now, even Brad Perez is starting to fall off just a little bit. Still within touch of the toe. But how about this? Oh, as they work their way through, Danny Perez is trying to work his way around. And so far, not working in his favor as he loses more touch to your top two.
Yeah, didn't get the assistance he was looking for, and that's really put him at adrift here, to say the very least. We'll see if he ends up falling behind even more so. But Henry Wheeler, we talked about his efforts so far in these types of races. He's not getting the help. Getz elects to go to the inside. Wheeler crosses him up. They both elect to battle hard. Wheeler now looks behind to make sure there's no other cars battling on behind. Stays in the line. So a little bit of some aggression popping up. That battle for fourth, it's just not working out the way the drivers are looking for. If they want to try and close up here, they're still not done with Wheeler again to the inside.
We'll push the driver of Getz up onto the curbing a little bit right there. That will now cause some separation. Now Henry Wheeler has to try and find his own footing to make the charge over to Daniel Perez.
Yeah, and right now, the tough thing's going to be getting back in the mindset of closing up. Wheeler, we know as a driver, Taylor, can definitely close it up. He's been a fierce competitor of the national scene. We've seen him in top 5s and top 10s in many different major races. But it's going to take so much more as you see some adjustments to the back end for Perez there. Make sure there's no issues with the red. Looks like for the 982 with how much time has been lost. The top two have just flew away. That's because they're still in the 44 seconds. Everybody else is a second off. Last time by, it was a massive difference between what these two were able to do compared to the Alex Taylor. They're in a groove.
They are in the groove, in the zone, and looking to try and make it work out for them in the best favor across the line. And how about this? James Overbeck setting his own personal best, and they are right there leading the charge over a second faster than Daniel Perez and Henry Wheeler.
Keep on seeing Perez having to play around with the cart there. That's opening up for Wheeler and Getz to get straight to him. Obviously something not to Perez's liking here, Taylor, with the gauges. He's not liking what he's seeing here. What do you think's on his mind here with all those adjustments, especially knowing he's now in drafting distance with Wheeler and Getz ready to pull alongside him? There's good measure too. Was about to say, he's doing it again here, Taylor. Something wrong with the 982. He's under attack again. Wheeler drove on by him like he was standing still for a moment.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of things that could be going on here. I mean, it could be a little bit of the air-fuel ratio that he's getting, that he's struggling with that carburetor if he's adjusting. There could be other problems we'll have to try and find out here, because this is definitely not what we were expecting to see from that 982 machine. He finally looks like he's going to be not making any more adjustments, but it's too little too late, because here comes Henry Wheeler with a head of steam ready to try and move up to third.
Tried it a couple times. He's gotten third for a split second. Perez just seems to have enough speed to hold him off for a little bit. but not enough to actually pull away again or help solidify the spot fully here. Top two, by the way, they're fine. So Brett Britsky still staying tucked up against one another. More adjustments for Perez, still struggling with the car. Wheeler, again, having to make some adjustments. The hand continually working on. Again, trying to work with the car, with the air fuel mix, or still trying to work with the carburetor. It could be difficult on this balance, and he is still trying to make this work, trying to make this last for 3 more laps, Taylor. And every time he has to touch onto the side of that cart, there's issues. Speaking of which, we have issues for Mims. He's off the track and stuck in the grass.
Tough break there for Mims as he will now finish out of this here. Unfortunate for him. 9 seconds to go, so we're looking at 3 laps. So yeah, could be some more adjustments possibly for that carburetor for Daniel Perez as he continues to adjust it and trying to make sure that engine doesn't either bog down or overheat. He doesn't want to try to lose any pressure on that engine and end up out of the race. So he's got to be careful with how much he adjusts to keep that engine finely tuned to finish it out.
There's also potential of damage that's built up when it comes to the reeds. For those that don't want the experience side of things, it's all going to be something that has to be looked at, obviously, when this race is over, especially knowing how quick Perez was earlier on today. Already a couple laps to go in this one. Perez looks like he's found the tempo again all of a sudden. With the top 2, something's going to have to give with Overbeck holding on. Britsky still holding on behind. More adjustments to the carburetor for Perez, and he continues to build the buffer despite that now. Up to 3 kart lanes coming to the white flag. The leaders making their way to the final corners to the white.
Overbeck doing what he needs to do. He is trying to hold on out of the final corner. James Overbeck collects his win here in heat race number 2 for your white flag here. KA Senior Overbeck holding strong.
1 more lap to go. Britsky still needs to close up the buffer fast. Overbeck feeling the pressure, looking over the shoulder. Cuts around to his left. We missed off the corner. Allows Britsky to close up the gap now a touch. They work their way to the yes section. Britsky looking for a way to get the overlap quickly. He'll need to close up fast. Overbeck takes it sharper to the right, covers off that opportunity. Final corners. Overbeck over the shoulder again. James Overbeck will come to the final stretch. It's Overbeck who gets it done in heat number 2. Britsky in second within 2/10. Perez manages a third. Gets in Wheeler in the top 5. Getting Wheeler by 51 thousandths of a second on the final lap. Corsi drops down to 6th. Zillow down in 7th. Santanillo down in 8th. Sims and Mims at the back of the running order as you see their carts zip on by the stripe. Good second race of the day. Put together some intense action, especially for a moment in the battle for 3rd position, Taylor. They will now regroup for the pre-final tomorrow.
Absolutely, that will be the end of the day for your KA Senior drivers. An exciting one indeed. Keep an eye on what Overbeck, Britsky, and Daniel Perez, I'm pretty sure is going to be trying to make some adjustments to get ready for tomorrow's pre-final action. But a lot of heavy hitters that are going to have to go back to the drawing board for tomorrow.
With that in mind, we'll take a quick step aside here. Get back more action. You're watching Kart Chaser for coverage of the Apex Karting Championships. We are through the first half of heat number 2.
Are you ready to get behind the wheel? From Formula 1 to NASCAR and IndyCar, all the pros start here. For more information, check us out online at mcckarting.com or call us and go racing today.
Hi, I'm Jackson with Alpha Race Hub. Alpha is an all-in-one motorsports software solution that can solve all the software problems you need for your track, facility, or series. Alpha can cover all your software bases, from online registration digital e-waivers, a proprietary timing and scoring software, incident management, automated points tabulation, tire and barcode scanning. We even have our own mobile timing app and rental kart activity management software. If you're looking to consolidate your motorsports software solutions, reach out to us at alphatiming.co.uk.
Karts are heating up their tires for our third heat of this grouping of races. It's heat number 2 for the minis and the micros for the IAME chassis. It's the Mason Brody show up at the front of the field. The IAME Mini Swift engines ready to roll at the front. Tristan Francisco, both stowers. You also have Andrew Stasio up the front of the field, Liam Francisco, Ruben Greer, Sanders for Firestein up at the front. Spencer Height is your micro. We're underway once again, and the field gets to a clean start. Some side-by-side builds up. A little bit calmer of a start this time, Taylor.
Absolutely. Only a couple of drivers thinking about poking the nose here to see if they can find that opening position, but Mason Brody will lead the charge with both stowers right there now up to second place, picking up an extra spot on the opening run as they work their way through into the infield. A little tap of the helmet there from Brody, letting them know, hey, we still got quite a bit of racing to do. Let's try to work together, separate ourselves from the competition, then settle it amongst ourselves at the end.
Yep, exactly. We're seeing Tristan Francisco get to work, but some of the others continue to battle it out. As a result of that, though, Stowers got the better jump on the opening lap. The Franciscos are 3rd and 4th from that opening lap of action. As they make their way through, trying to signal with each other, let's work together. Let's get something going here. You'd have to think for the Franciscos, some of the drivers in the back to fight height, actually making a pass on track. That'll put him to 9th overall here as the only micro in the field here today. But the top two, if we get a good jump here, Stowers looks pretty comfortable so far to begin things, Taylor.
Absolutely. A lot of things are going to be comfortable here for them as they try to settle in for this run. Then you have Francisco leading that second pack, which seems to start to get a little bit more antsy as they try to negotiate around the circuit. Really exciting to see the drivers there as the Francisco brothers hopefully can try to work together to hunt down your top two.
Still 5 minutes to work with this time through. As you can see, a lot of the drivers staying all work together here. Will there be an opportunity to make a poke is the question. Yes, there will be. Up through the S's section. Passes taking place as a result there. We'll see the shuffle. 143 of Stasio making a pass and breaking up the pack. But you have to think the Franciscos, with their connection as family members here, going to be well in tune here to be able to break away from the 143. That gap already 5 kart lengths. Already seeing Tristan actually pull away a bit from Liam by 3 kart lengths, though, as they try to keep up in the draft.
Calm before the storm here as drivers trying to negotiate, just settling in, trying to find their right dancing partner to make the charge up through the field right now. Really impressive drive. I think a lot of these kids learned quite a bit from heat race number 1 of what they can do here in this second go around as the drivers try to work their way through. The Francisco brothers are setting the pace right now, but they got still quite a bit of time to make up as they start to close the gap a little bit more coming out of the final corner. They're making their way to Stowers here for 3rd.
Last time by, in fact, Liam Francisco fast lap of the entire day so far. 47.396 on the close-up. Now the action is on for Tristan Francisco. There goes Liam with them. Both of them trying to draft together. Will they get them both passed along? Yes, they will. Bo Stowers drops himself down to 4th as a result there. So the 3rd generation racer in Stowers for Stowers Brothers Motorsports. drops down. The AMP 2024 Micro Swift champion will have to get back on the work here to have an opportunity. And yet again, it's the 117 with a chance to pounce on Brody. The thing's going to be, it'll take a few more moments, you'd have to think, for them to have a setup to have a chance on Brody. With the way things have gone, Brody's been difficult to get in front of.
He certainly has been, but the thing is, as long as the drivers of the Franciscos don't start battling amongst themselves and keep Stowers and Anastasio behind them, they can't take that fight, because here comes the driver of Tristan Francisco. A great run off the final corner right there, and he is going to try to make that push, and he's starting to separate himself from the rest of the field and close it in on Mason Brody.
Yeah, right now, you can tell the effort is there for this entire choo-choo train, stretching all the way back to Greer, who's just trying to hold on, was in the 47.6 last time by, was a 3/10 quicker margin than your race leader, Liam Francisco, working with Tristan still. Now after the initial swamp we've seen moments ago, and now they'll try and dig once again. Looks like the digging will see another chance for most of the drivers to get around Liam Francisco. Stowers also taking the chance. This is getting a little bit antsy for the battle for second. Exactly what Brody would want to see here, Taylor, to keep up this buffer.
He certainly is, but he's got to be careful with that now, as here comes Sauer and company as they close the gap. Sauer now moving up to that third spot, and now Francisco doesn't have his brother to help him out right now. It's going to be a tough ask for them to chase down Mason Brody here as they come out of the final corner. Drivers trying to find their dance partner and make the charge. Across the line they'll go, and Anastasio dropping back to position.
Greer picking up a spot there at the tail end of the group. Here comes the draft train yet again. It looks like this time it's Stowers who's under attack for a moment. Nothing going here. So now, how do you set this up for your Tristan Francisco? We talked about this in a couple different classes today, but this class seems to have that nimbleness and that opportunity. Go for a little bit more bolder moves here. When do you pull the pin if you're the 117 machine for this attempt here in Heat 2?
You got to wait till you get that perfect run coming off, especially on either the front straightaway or the back straightaway. And now with these drivers from third on back battling, that's going to be a big help for Tristan Francisco to where he can make it just a two-horse race, as the 120 of Greer tried to show his nose to the inside of Stowers, could not make it work as Tristan Francisco pushes the back bumper of Mason Brody. He wants to try to get as much distance as he can away from everyone else.
Going to be close on how many laps we'll get here. Might be 3, might be 2. Couple seconds offset coming up possibly. Brody continues to march his way forward around on the front of the field. The gap only about a quarter kart length between him and Tristan Francisco. It will be 2 laps to go, but they're side by side again with the Franciscos. Liam leaps in front of Tristan, and now they'll go wheel to wheel. The Franciscos go back and forth. It's Tristan who's able to zip back in front. Liam Francisco gets passed by one more kart as a result of that squabble as they make their way down the straightaway. Lap and a half to go.
Mason Brody grinning from ear to ear, knowing that he can hear the engines from behind start to fade away a little bit in the background as he has clean track ahead and looks to try and make sure he can hold on to the race lead. Meanwhile, for the driver of Liam Francisco, he is under immense pressure from his brother Tristan, from Greer, who has made some big gains. He's looking to try to get second away. He'll show the nose, drops back in line, but he's going to lose a couple of spots as the 141 of Liam Francisco gets back around Tristan, trying to help him out a little bit as they cross the line. White flag.
Final time around for heat number 2 for the minis and the micros. They continue to battle it out. It's exactly what Mason Brody wants to see. Already trying to duck down, get lower down to the weight, get aerodynamic. Battle is on from Greer to search around, trying to find a way around the Franciscos yet again. Will he go for a late lunge on Liam? That's the huge question. Right now, Tristan Francisco trying to hold on his spot, going lower apexes. Didn't go all the way to the rumble strip. Covered off the run for the 141. No late lunges from Greer. It's going to be Mason Brody, though. coming out of the final corner, who leads in front. The Franciscos coming to the final corner for a drag race themselves. Tristan gets the edge over Liam. Ruben Greer in fourth. Stewards gets a top 5. Stacio Sanders. Spencer Hyde actually drives his way up to net 9th behind Liam 4. Parker Firestone ends up being down at the tail end of the overall running order, 9th in class today in Heat 2. Fierce battling yet again, Taylor, in the Franciscos. They definitely did not let up. They let it be known once they lost ground to Brody there. They wanted to see which brother would get it best at the top there.
Yes, indeed, but the problem is with those two battling it so much, you saw what happened of how much time they lost to Mason Brody. So I think now, as they look ahead to tomorrow, they need to try to come up with a game plan to realize, hey, yes, we need to battle it out if we need to, but we need to find out a way to work together to keep the fight with Mason Brody and find a way to get around him so that way one of them could try and take it away, because Mason Brody is going to be the force to be reckoned with here this weekend so far.
Fast in both the heat races. It's going to be an interesting character the rest of the weekend. It looks like the drivers with their final check-throughs here before we get going for K.A. Jr. This class put on some incredible racing earlier today, Taylor. Kemper Jr., Ives, Johnson, Ibert amongst those who have a great chance. Connor Sneakenberg could also be someone to keep an eye on, who is amongst those who has to recover from a crash from earlier on in the previous race. Keep in mind, in race number 1, Sneakenberg did pick up an incident responsibility penalty that put him on top of out of the race and an extra 5 seconds technically. Also, Sean Portnoy fell down to 6th in the running order officially because he picked up an avoidable contact penalty. So the key thing is, Taylor, you have to make clean passes here if you want a chance.
Absolutely. You got to be smart. You got to be clean. You're okay to get the elbows out. We know that here, but be smart about it. Don't do it willy-nilly and be over-aggressive where it costs you those penalties here as we get set to go racing for our KA Juniors. And I got to say, Tyrone Kemper is itching to pull the trigger to find his way and get back up at the front of the field.
So it's time to warm up the tires. It's time to see how they line up. It's Tyrone Kemper Jr. at the front of the field. Parker arrives in 2nd. Cameron Johnson will start in 3rd. Oliver Nybert will start in 4th with Colton Sneakenberg in the 5th position. Sean Portnoy will start in 6th spot with Jet Price behind Harrison Burklow. Burklow is in 7th. Price is in 8th. Jordan Lapham is in 9th position. Then you have Doublier who will start in 10th. And Siva Kumar will round out your running order in this race. They've already doubled up. We're just about ready for the tram lines. Field ready to battle it out for our final heat race of the morning before we get to the lunch break and we switch to the Briggs & Stratton motor package. Really keeping it slow this time. That's the slowest tram line run we've seen all day today. You can walk past the whole field with this pace, but again, dictating the tempo, trying to make sure no one gets the jump here.
Tyrone's doing the same thing like he did last heat race, and now they're going to scramble up. A couple of drivers bogged down quite a bit as well, and that will allow Cameron Johnson to get around 2nd from Parker Ives.
Underway down the back straightaway. Kemper Jr. trying to go for the defensive all the way down the inside with drivers like Ives trying to find a way to sort themselves. Everybody else stays in the line. But a good start so far if you're a kart with the color red here. Ives jumped down to 3rd spot off the jump. Drivers like Johnson and Nybert stayed in 2nd and 4th. Johnson in that 8-10 machine looking to be on the prowl here coming up to the end of the first lap.
Coming out of the corner here, they're going to make the charge, but Tyrone Kemper Jr. holding by about a 2-car length advantage as they cross the line heading into turn number 1. And right here, we're seeing Johnson gets the grass a little bit. Same thing with the 835 of Portnoy, who also goes into the grass. They're keeping it here and trying to stay through. A couple of drivers poke out. Parker Ives will move to 2nd place with help from Nybert, who will follow suit in 3rd.
Johnson, again, one of the fast drivers to watch for here for the rest of this run, but it's still going to be interesting what we see from Ives, who was able to pick the win in Heat 1 earlier today, what he's able to do to chip away this gap. Again, brand new helmet here this weekend with a different look compared to his silver bullet helmet, he called it, for several years. Who missed the storyline earlier. It was originally a prize from winning a 2024 championship in Stars competition. Now here with a different look. Everybody else, though, if you're Jet Price on back, they've lost touch. Parker Ives is going for the lead up at the front of the field. He's able to get the run outside and pass by Kemper Jr. That was pretty quick as he's able to get the zoom on by the 848.
Parker had the run, he had the opening, he made it stick, and now will Tyrone Kemper respond? Yes, he will, to the inside and crosses him into the bottom of the racetrack, takes over the race lead. That will now bring Nyberg and Johnson back into the mix, as now here comes the driver of Oliver Nyberg with a big head of steam down across the front straightaway. Burklow trying to keep up.
You're talking about a difference in height here, too. You're talking about for Kemper Jr. in all of this, and it's pretty stark when you look at it straight up. That's about a good near foot taller in the kart here. That's a big difference, to say the very least, in how this will impact the karts. That makes a huge difference, Taylor.
Well, if you think about it also, it's more air resistance coming against Tyrone Kemper Jr. compared to Parker Ives right now. Parker doesn't have much to duck down in compare. He can get his head out of the wind pretty easily compared to Tyrone Kemper Jr. You see the height difference between all four of them as they work their way through the corner, and gets a good idea of how quickly things can change out for them and the difference of the kart's handling and the speed that they're able to carry in the draft.
And in turn, impacts how you drive this racetrack a lot more differently in theory, potentially, with the way the air is going to work. Kemper Jr. not having any pokes. Nyberg and Johnson stay in the line. They've pulled away by more than a second and a half as a choo-choo train here about halfway through the clock. So now the tough part's going to be here if you're someone like Nyberg or Johnson. Where do you get their chance to go? Maybe now, because Ives just went for the run again. Ives again took the send. Will that be a signal for someone like Johnson to try and force on through? Where will they get a chance to open up an opportunity, Taylor?
I don't know, but Nyberg is really sliding that kart around a little too much. You saw it right there in turn number one. He had to try an opposite lock right there to try to keep the kart from spinning out. He gathers it back up pretty well, and as we watch, Kemper Jr. saw the signal from Parker Ives like, hey, we still got quite a bit of racing to go. Let's try to pull away and get away from the chaos behind.
Up and right now, Ives seems in confident control up at the front right now, yet again for the time being, as they get into a pattern here. By the way, Burklow has broken away from the other drivers. Portnov, Doublier, and several others have fallen back an additional second. The 864 has been able to gain 2 spots to their respective race on the ticker. So there are some buffers building up again as the pack splinters away, and there's a chance that someone like Johnson could lose ground if he doesn't find some momentum here, quite simply. So what can you do right now as a driver to be able to adjust to what you're seeing with the tempo, the pace? I know there's only so much you can do after the setup's built in here. What can you do as to change your driving technique to try and find that extra bit of time here?
They're trying to find that little bit of extra pace for our top 4 right now as they come out of the final corner here. Nyberg starting to work his way up to the back bumper. They're losing Cameron Johnson right now as he's struggling to keep up with the lead draft as they snake their way through out onto the back straightaway. Who will make that brave and heroic decision to bake and take over the race lead here? No one just yet. They still know clock is still on the board and there's plenty of racing left to go.
Still plenty of time to work with, but it's easier said than done. Keep an eye for a send in this part of the racetrack in a couple laps, I think, from Kemper Jr. Just starting to feel that sense that he's going to sling up the inside and see if he gets it to stick here. The aggressiveness we've seen from him today. But we've seen Kemper Jr. make those types of moves before. He is one of the drivers that can make those, even with that height difference, those shifty moves in the late stages to rip away the bottom of the racetrack from someone at a time they don't expect. You can see him just planning.
Tyrone Kemper Jr., I have to say, is one of the most patient and calculated drivers in the KA Junior category. He doesn't just be overly aggressive. He shows that little bit when he needs to, but is someone who will back off when he needs to as well, to wait for that opening to make the run, because he knows for a fact if he starts battling, that's going to compress everyone back together to where he can lose even more spots in this race. 20 seconds left on the clock as they come down the front straightaway. Nybert thinks about going on the outside. Here comes Kemper to the inside. He'll retake the lead, and Nybert will follow suit.
There's that move we were talking about potentially coming, and Kemper Jr. starting to look behind. Already knows Nybert's next move. Takes it hard to the left side. Doesn't want an opening to pop up here. Height difference isn't as stark between these two. It's a little bit closer, but you still have Ives trying to go for some switch-up attempts. Looking for a chance to cut to the inside. Nybert goes hard to the inside, blocks it off. Ives starting to get a little bit too predictable if some of these drivers know exactly where some of these moves are going to come from.
He certainly knows that is the case here. You saw Ives give a little signal to Nybert saying, just go, focus on it. We still have 2 laps of racing left to go as they come down the back straightaway. And now Kemper goes all the way to the bottom. Everyone goes to the bottom, trying to make sure who's the first to block out. Here they come, almost too wide. Around the outside, Parker Ives.
Tried to sling it up the outside with the faster speed. Couldn't get it to stick for the apex exits. And now has to try it again. Johnson was able to leapfrog up to third, though, with that. Exactly what Cameron Johnson had been waiting for, to retake that chance. But for Ives, he sends it up the inside. Aggressive move coming up to the white flag, this time through. Ives gives the signal. He looks to go through the tram lines. Now coming around on the final lap.
Gave a little apology right there for the hard bump that he gave to Tyrone Kemper Jr., but now it's going to be who will be the first one to duck out to the bottom. Kemper tries to follow. Ives gets a little bit of a push. Now pushes up the racetrack. Tyrone Kemper Jr. retakes the race lead. He will have the driver Nybert take second spot.
Elbows coming out yet again with some huge lunges. Kemper Jr. from that has a huge advantage. Nybert trying to chip into it. Ives 1 second back at least. Tries to find an error cut to the inside. Can't get the diamond line. It's Kemper Jr. on home soil who's coming down the front straightaway. He takes heat number 2. Nybert and Ives gets the top 3. Johnson, Berklow, Portnov in the top 6. Then you have in the top 7, Gabalier, Price, Snegenberg in 9th, Latham, and Sivakumar. Of the rest of your drivers, what a morning, Taylor. That's your last heat race of the morning for the KAs.
Absolutely, but the thing is, they got a bit of work to look into. I mean, just looking at tomorrow's weather, when these guys go out to race, the temperature is going to be about 20 to 30 degrees different compared to what it is right now. So it's going to be a little bit of a change up to see what they can try and accomplish to get themselves ready for the pre-final and finals tomorrow. It's going to be exciting. I'm happy to see how this all plays out, but we're going to step aside here to come back later on for the Briggs and Stratton engines that are about to do battle here today.
That point, in less than 35 minutes after the lunch break, we'll follow on with the practice. You're watching Kart Chaser from NOLA Motorsports Park.